who you kind of saw in the dugout that kind of made your eyes pop, and you, of course, made many All-Star games. What was that first one like for you?
First one, it was shake your legs. Because, you know, I was on the same field with Willie Mays and Mickey Mantle, Roberto Clemente, you know, some of the greats that played the game, you know, and I was, as a kid growing up, those are the guys that I enjoyed watching play. Right. So when I went out there, you couldn't stop my legs from shaking.
And back then, the other players voted for you to be on the team. Is that correct? Was that how you got onto it?
It started with the players, managers, coaches, and then baseball. The commissioner decided the fans needed to get involved.
A voice, yeah.
Because they're a big voice in all the different sports that we participated. So I was lucky, you know. I played in 18 All-Star games.
18 All-Star games. Holy cow! You should have just built a home in the clubhouse.
But it was enjoyable because we enjoyed sitting and chatting with the guys from the other league, the Little Leaguers. You know, we used to call the National League the Little Leaguers. But it was fun, you know. It was fun just to be out there and talking to them, and exchanging ideas, hitting and playing the game. And one of the guys that I really enjoyed talking to was Tony Gwynn.
Yes.
You know,
yes.
He was just a great person, and you know, we shared our thoughts on hitting and playing the game, and it was fun. It became fun for us.
Tony had a few thoughts on the hitting game, I'm sure.
Yeah, we just used to try to figure out how we were going to hit certain pitchers, how they're pitching us, and he would give me tips and I would give him tips, and that's why we ended up being very consistent throughout our careers.
Well, right, and once you got to that upper level, we learned from all the people that we've talked to, including yourself, you never stop learning, you never stop adjusting, you never stop growing, because that's how you stay in 18 All-Star games, is by adjusting and getting better all the time.
Well, it's a game of adjustments, and I'll give you an example. When I came up to the big leagues, I used to stand straight up, and every time I faced Nolan Ryan, I found myself swinging and missing. So I started playing around with lowering my stance until I found something that was comfortable, that unorthodox way of hitting. But every time that I faced Nolan after that, then I was forcing him to bring the fastball down. Because when the fastball is down, it's not hopping as much as when it's up. So Nolan was one of the guys that really, you know, made my batting stance what it was until the day that I stopped playing.
Well, he did that to a few other people as well, not just you, so don't feel badly.
Well, I was the fourth on his list. He struck me out 29 times.
Wow.
You know, but after I changed my stance, the first game after that, I got 3 hits off of him.
Right.
And then the next game after that...
I'm sure he was mad about that, by the way.
Well, he was on the mound and he yelled out at me, "Stand up!"
He knew what you were doing.
And I told him, I said, all I did was, you got to come down.
Nice. Those are the kind of fun stories that, you know, we love hearing, because obviously the success of Nolan Ryan and the longevity, and you guys both were able to face each other through a long part of your careers. Now, were you ever on the Angels with him at the same time?
Yep, the first year that I came out to California.
Right.
You know, we played together. What a gentleman, and what a guy. You know, Nolan could have hurt a lot of guys if he wanted to by throwing at him.
Right.
But he never threw at a guy intentionally.
Right.
You know, fastballs might get away from him, but he never wanted to hit a guy or knock a guy down.
Right. Because you dust a guy back, you let him know that this is your plate. He respected you, but he's not going to throw at you on purpose.
No, and that's part of the game, and that's what's missing in the game today. Every time a pitcher goes inside, he gets a warning.
Right.
You know, I'll tell you a little story. I was a rookie in spring training, and we were playing against St. Louis and St. Petersburg. And where I put my back foot, there was a big hole. So Tim McCarver was catching, and I was trying, and Gibson was on the mound, so I was trying to cover up the hole to get comfortable. And all I heard him yelling from the mound, "Get in the batter's box, get in the batter's box." And I looked down at McCarver and I says, "What's he upset for? I'm just trying to cover this hole." He says, "Rook, get in the batter's box." Well, I didn't pay attention to McCarver. I didn't pay attention to Bob Gibson. First 3 pitches were at my neck. The other one was at my head. And so he ended up walking me. And as I'm going down first base line, he walked off the mound and says, "Don't even think about stealing." I said, "Don't worry about it." But you know, funny, years after when we met at the Hall of Fame and the Hall of Famers at this dinner, I asked him, I says, "Why did you knock me down? What did I do wrong?" He says, "I was double park. I had a golf game, and I wanted to get the game over. My 3 innings real quick and get out of here."
Well, there you go. Now, all these years later, you thought it was something personal. It was nothing personal,
Yeah,
just a golf
no,
game and a double park.
You know, it's not. And what the young players today don't understand is it's okay to get brushed back.
Right.
As long as they don't throw at your head.
Right.
It's okay to try and hit a guy in the ribs, or a lot of guys used to try and aim for the legs, because if they could get your legs moving,
Right.
then they had you.
Yep. It's all about getting in there.
Yeah.
Once you start shaking up everything down here, it gets you up here.
And I didn't mind getting thrown at, because I understood. I learned a lesson from Don Drysdale. You take half the plate, and I want half the plate. So you can't be getting out into my territory, because
Right.
I'm going to put you back in yours.
Well, that's what the great pitchers are like, you know?
Yeah,
This
yeah.
is my plate, and you're just borrowing it for a minute.
Yeah, but that's the way the game has changed.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense. So talk about the early days coming up into the Minnesota Twins system, and what it was like to play for that city, and then just kind of the early days, what that was like for you.
Well, I was lucky because I played 2 years of Class A baseball. Then I went to the big leagues, and I was able to play with Tony Oliva, who is one of the greatest individuals you want to meet, and
Yes.
Harvin Killebrew and Earl Batty, some of those guys that were already stars. But Tony took me in as a rookie as his roommate.
Right.
And we roomed together for 10 years. And so everything that I learned on the field, he taught me a lot of things on the field and off the field. And
Did it teach you Spanish?
well, I am bilingual.
Oh, that's right. You're from Panama. I'm so
Yeah.
sorry. Do they speak Spanish in Panama? Maybe. Anyway, I did do my research. I apologize.
But,
Continue.
But playing in the Twin Cities was great.
Hi.
I got there when I was a kid, and when I left there, I cried like a baby, and I did because so many people saw me come up as a young, hot-headed guy,
Right.
and they saw me leaving as a more mellow person.
Right.
And I remember we played a game against the White Sox in the year '77, and I was like chasing the 400 mark. And it wasn't something that I set out to do. It was just something that every time I get up to home plate, I was getting base hits. And I received, I think, 5 or 6 standing ovations during the course of that game. And I think people were just showing their respect for me and what I had accomplished from the first day that I became a Twins player.
That's awesome.
And I still call Minnesota home, even though I live in California.
That's all right. That's all right. Well, as you said, you grew up there, and they saw you mature, and that's a very special place in your heart for people that will, because they become family in a sense.
Yeah, and one of my family was sitting there, Dave Winfield.
That's right.
I used to go watch him play in college.
When he was in Minnesota, yeah. What a great local player he was. And
Yes, him, Paul Molitor,
yep.
Joe Mauer. You know, Minnesota's produced a few good players, and those was just a handful.
Well, that was such a great question that we had earlier from a younger fan to ask Dave, you know, who were your idols when you were younger, and then what was it like to become an idol to other younger players? So much fun to learn that you were a fan of Dave Winfield's even when he was younger and you were playing, you know.
Well, you know, I didn't have an idol when I was growing up. I wanted to learn to play the game and learn to hit my way and work at it and get better and be consistent. But once I got to the big leagues, I found out that Harmon Killebrew was one of my most favorite guys. Tony Oliva, because he took me in and we roomed together for about 10 years. But Harmon taught me a lesson. And he always said to me, he called me Junior. He never called me Rod, you know? And he says, Junior, doesn't cost anything to be nice. And he said, when people come up to you and want you to sign something, be nice, sign it. And the more you sign, the more people learn about you.
Right.
So that's something that I've tried to carry on, and even now that I'm not playing, I don't mind talking to people, and I don't mind signing autographs.
Well, and as you see, you have a lot of still fans here, even though you absolutely. Now, I'm looking for Heather because I definitely want to get some questions out there. We have a couple hands raised already, so we will do our best to get you and just wait for the microphone so that we can all hear you.